We'll see. All right, shifting gears here. Social media is a prevalent part of our everyday lives, with the average person spending about 2.5 hours scrolling through apps each day. But the next time you're uploading your vacation pictures or posting your child's school accomplishments online, you may want to think twice about how much information you could be oversharing and the dangers behind it. Joining us this morning with more on how we can protect ourselves is a social media expert who the New York Times called a rock star who knows everything about social media and then some. I want to know about the then some. Also a 5-time best-selling author. We welcome Peter Shankman to the show. Welcome, Peter. Great to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Oversharing.
Yeah.
Sounds like something a generous person would do, but that's not what we're dealing with here.
No.
Give us some examples, first of all, of what oversharing is online.
I mean, oversharing has been around long before the internet. You know,
Sure.
People would go out to dinner, they'd get drunk, 5 days. I mean, Billy Joel wrote a song about it, right? You know, all the stuff he talked about at the lanes.
That's true.
Oversharing online, though, has much more immediate ramifications, right? You're angry, you see something, you get angry, you have a bad date, you have a bad fight with your ex or with your current partner. You know, you get a line. I don't want to judge, but I can, you know, it's called what's it called? Facebook guilt or whatever. There's tons of words for it. Vague booking is another one. When you're talking how upset you are, but you don't actually use the person's name, right? Who you're angry at. I'm just saying, some people.
Some people, right? I do see a lot
so
of that.
There's a lot of oversharing, and it's a downer. You know, it can really hurt you. It can,
I was going to say,
the more you do it, it can really get you in trouble.
Right. What are some of the dangers in that besides the obvious?
Whatever you're saying, you know, I try to teach my clients, and this goes back years back when internet, you know, social media, and back when I was working at America Online in the 90s, you know, anything
Online,
remember that name?
Oh,
yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Anything you post can come back to bite you. You know, ask yourself before you post it. Take 5 seconds. Don't hit post.
Right.
Right. I had an assistant. I still have an assistant who actually, when she'd hear me typing with purpose, as she called it, she'd shut off the router, so I couldn't actually send anything until I was sure about it. Take a second. Ask yourself, am I going to feel this way in the morning? Right. Is this going to? Who's going to see this? Right. Would it? I have a rule of 3. Would it offend a parent, a preacher, or a boss?
Okay, that's a good checklist to run through.
If you even for a second have to not be sure about one of those 3, don't post it. No one's ever gone broke, bankrupt. No one's ever gotten canceled by not sharing something.
Right, exactly.
That's a huge point.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, when you're feeling that high level of emotion with something, you should probably step back.
Well, yeah, because
take
let's
a few
face
beats
it,
before you hit
our
send.
bodies want to send it. Our brains are wired to receive dopamine, right? When you hit post and then you see a like and another like and another like, you're actually getting a dopamine.
Sure.
It's addictive. It's the same reason people won't stop texting and driving. So if you can figure out a way to not do that, get your dopamine, go out for a run, stand up and just do 10 jumping jacks. Anything to give yourself that bodily hit, you'll come back and you'll look at it in an entirely different way.
Yeah, it's like working with a little bit of an internal safety net. So what about children? Because they're all involved in this too. What can we start teaching them to stay away from this?
So I think one of the key things is to teach that anything that you put online will never go away. The delete button, I've tried to teach, I have a 9-year-old daughter, and she is into Roblox 24 hours a day, right? And I have to put limits on what she can use and how much she can use it. And she, you know, there's a chat function, which she has never been allowed to use until she turned 9, and I sit with her when she uses it. And I explain to her that the delete button does not work. Pretend it's not there. Daddy, I can get rid of this photo. No, you can't. If it's out there, it's going to be out there forever. Ask yourself, in 50 years, in 10 years, in 5 years, next week, will this hurt me? Right? You know, I always post on New Year's Eve the bad joke or the sexist comment or the risque photo that seems really funny at 12:30 in the morning after 3 drinks isn't at 7 a.m. the next morning.
No, always ends up offending somebody. So in terms of some of the signs you might see your children in terms of their behavior online, what would you look for to say maybe they're doing this?
You have to be vigilant as to what they're doing. You know, when remember when you had kids before the internet and they were quiet for 20 minutes, something was wrong. They were doing something.
It's too quiet in that room.
True. If you haven't heard from them, if they're not outside, you know, you want to use the internet, you want to play Minecraft, great. Do it in the living room. Here's your iPad. Do it where I can take a look over and see what you're doing. Look on their account. You should have their passwords, right? And it's not a violation of privacy when they're 9 years old. You should know everything they're posting. Everyone. I've explained to my daughter that not everyone is who they say they are on the internet. You never give out personal information. You never share where you are. You never share your real name. You be very, very aware, because people who seem like friends aren't necessarily the people in real life. Your real life friends are friends. The people online, you don't know who they are.
You don't know who they are, right? No. They're kind of almost in the ether somewhere, made up. So in terms of oversharing information, how do we have control over it? Are there some things in some of the apps we can do?
There's no reason for any app to have access to your microphone, to your camera, and especially to your contacts unless there's very specific points that you want to do. If I'm on Facebook, okay, and I want to post a video or I want to post a photo, sure, I give Facebook access to my camera and to my microphone. As soon as it's done and I've posted that video, I turn it off.
Shut it off.
I go back to settings. It takes 2 seconds and just revoke access. You know, your calculator should not have access to your contacts.
You're making a very good point.
Right? No one should have access to your contacts except you. Because, and for instance, if you have TikTok on your phone, just delete it. I'm not even going to get into that. Just delete it.
I agree. Peter Shankman, great information. By the way, real quick, you also have a podcast out there. A totally different subject, but I want you to quickly.
Yeah, thank you.
drop a
It's
line
called
about it.
Faster Than Normal. It's focused on the best-selling book of the same name called Faster Than Normal, which focuses on the fact that ADHD, ADD, any sort of neurodiversity is actually a gift. Because I grew up in the New York City public school system where I was told to sit down, be quiet, you're disrupting the class. And when I was diagnosed in my early 40s with ADHD, I realized that all my success, anything I've done successful, has come because of my ADHD. It's a gift, not a curse, and we need to start teaching our children that.
I love that, shining the light on that positively. Peter, thanks so much. Wish we had a little more time, but we're going to post all of these tips on our website at pix11.com.